Hey, what's up you guys? It's Addie, and today I'm back with another podcast episode. I haven't done one of these in a while, but with the holidays coming up and just it being a really long week this week, I've got a lot of things in progress. I've got a lot of whips right now, and I've got a few finished objects, so I thought that we should do a little check-in. I also have a few projects that I think I'm going to have to frog a lot on, or I think I need to just take a pause on and revisit, so I thought I would talk about it here and then throw it out to you guys in the hopes that maybe in the comments you can give me your 2 cents on how you think I should move forward. So I'm going to keep it really simple. Let's dive into some of the objects that I have finished since I last did a podcast episode with you guys. It's been a minute since I last updated you all in a podcast about my whips and my finished objects and stuff like that, so I might have some more finished objects between this video and the last one that I recorded, but these are just the ones that I could think of off the top of my head because it's not that deep. So I have a lot of Christmas gifts here. I am fully in Santa's workshop mode right now. I am cranking out gifts like nobody's business, which has been such a blessing this week. It's been a week where I've been very grateful to have some very straightforward whips that I can work on and just keep my hands busy without having to sit down and really look at a pattern or think too much about them while I'm working on them. So gifts are perfect for that kind of vibe because often they're smaller, or at least the gifts that I'm making this year, they're all a lot smaller, they're all pretty simple, and a lot of them I'm just able to really quickly check in with the pattern if I need to and then go from there, but a lot of them it's kind of been a read over the pattern, cool, I got it, let's go. So let's start with the Mood Christmas Ball by Spectacle Strick. I'm obsessed with this thing. I talked about this and a few of these other items in my holiday gift knits idea video recently, but I'm obsessed with this. I won't go too much into it because I did talk about it in my other video, but I just love these little ornaments. I'm going to make a bunch of these as gifts this holiday season. My mom is going to get a few of them, and I believe that I'm going to make a few more for some gifts for other people. But I love it. It's just a very satisfying thing to work up. It's so cute, and I have a bunch of fingering weight wool, which is what I made this out of. This is Blue Sky Fibers Wool Stock Light Wool. And I've got a lot of other colors in this yarn that I think I'm just going to whip out a bunch more in, and I'm hoping that I can keep it to kind of a Christmas palette, but then I have some folks that I think would enjoy just kind of bright colored ornaments, so I might do that for a few. I'm working on another one right now. This is a super quick knit. It doesn't take more than a few hours, so this little one that I'm working on now, I just think will be in the same set as this one because this is kind of a rusty red, and then this is a deep forest green, so I think it'll be a cute little vintagey Christmas palette together. Yeah, so this is honestly the perfect project to just kind of mindlessly pick up when I walk by it and do a row here and there because it just makes a big difference in this pattern. Yeah, not much more to say. That's the Mood Christmas Ball. Really love that one. On to the next finished object. This is a drawstring pouch that I made for my mom also as a gift. I also talked about this one in my gift knits video, so I won't talk too much about it here, but yeah, this was a super cute little bag and it was really fun to make, and I made this one out of a worsted weight yarn and I think a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, and I think for what my mom wants to use this for, which is for golfing tees, I think that I should make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to redo this in probably a fingering weight yarn and a much smaller crochet hook, but I just haven't gotten around to that yet. So I do have this finished, but I will be doing another one of these. The next one is this fisherman's cable hat. I'm obsessed with this hat. I actually think I want to make a few more. I made this one for my grandpa, and it's a men's hat, so I don't know, it's a little bit big on me, but come on, are you kidding? This is so cute. This was so simple, so straightforward. Let me make sure I put a hat back on because your girl has hat hair. Super simple, super straightforward, and I just really loved this hat, so much so that I thought I was just gonna make one for my grandpa, but I'm starting to think that I'm just gonna make one for my dad and my brother too, so all the boys in my life get one, because it was really fun to make, really straightforward, very simple, and I don't know, it's just A mindless cable pattern is just pretty heavenly, I'm discovering. I really like doing cables and they're kind of new to me, but it's so satisfying to see them all done up because it makes whatever objects you have in the end look super professional. So really happy with this hat. This pattern is also free, so big fan of that. And then the last finished object that I have that's like a true finished object is actually a pattern test that I worked on a few weeks ago now. This pattern is released. This is the Kelly hood by Cosmati, and oh my gosh, I love this hood. I'll try it on too. Okay, you guys are really just seeing how bad of a hair day I'm having today. I love this thing. I think it is so cute. It was so fun to make. Okay, I am gonna take this off because I feel like I'm blocking my microphone, but I loved making this thing. It was really fun. I used some like leftover yarns that I had in my stash. I actually have it here, I can show you. This is the Loops and Threads Heathered Tweed yarn, and it's in the color Black Rainbow. I used this held with some of my Trey Liz silk mohair in the color Manawee, and it created this like super cool, colorful, but black hood. So I've been getting a lot of wear out of this because big staples in my wardrobe are black and bright pops of color. So this has been a perfect addition to like basically all of my cold weather outfits. So I've been wearing this a lot. I'm really happy I went with this combo. When I started working it up, I was really not sure about it. I knew that I wanted to use up one of the skeins of that Loops and Threads yarn that I had because I have a bunch of it in my stash. And I know that it's really warm, so it's perfect for something like this. And I had just like an awkward amount of that mohair left over, and I was able to use all of it up in this, which was really nice. But when I first started with it, I just wasn't sure because it's kind of a funky combo, but I'm really glad I went with it because it goes with everything I wear, so I get a lot of use out of this. The only thing I'll say about this pattern, it is all in slip stitch ribbing crochet, so if that's not your thing, I don't know if this is the pattern for you, though I will say Cosmati designs some incredible hood patterns, and this is not the only one. If you're a fan of this but you're not a fan of doing slip stitch crochet ribbing, then you should check out her Clover hood. I made that one last year and it's done in moss stitch, so have no fear, you can still make something just as cool as this with a different stitch pattern. But personally, I find that the slip stitch crochet ribbing is very worth it in this because the end result is this knit-like fabric that's super stretchy and it's just really cozy. This is a very thick hood. It's been keeping me really warm, but it's large enough that enough air gets through that I'm not too hot wearing it in these kind of like transitional weather days. Yeah, I don't know. I just really love this piece. I think the way that Andrea designs her hoods is so genius because she makes it so that like you don't have to seam anything. And I genuinely don't know how she figures out how to do her designs because every time I've worked one now, I've just been so impressed with the construction. So definitely a treat to work up. It's really fun. And though it took a minute, it has been very rewarding. This is going to be a new closet staple for me. So that's the Kelly hood. That's all my finished objects actually for this week. So let's move on to one little project that I have that's not necessarily like a whip, but it's just something that I want to put in a video so I have accountability for it. Around this time last year, I made a sweater for my boyfriend. Survivors of the Sweater Curse here. And yeah, this is the Offgrid sweater by Rose Knitwear. I was blanking on the name for a second. And this design is great. Like this pattern is fantastic. I do highly recommend this sweater because it's just really cool. It's hard to get the whole thing in the frame because it's enormous and it's part of the thing that we're going to talk about right now. But it's a fantastic design, really cool sweater. The problem is this was the first sweater I ever made, and yeah, I know red flags abound. Like the whole thing was kind of a disaster. The short version of why is that I didn't even gauge swatch. I didn't really know what that was at the time. I didn't really know much about fiber contents at the time. I'm still learning about all that, but I definitely knew so much less when I made this sweater. And basically, like the whole thing is just much bigger than it was supposed to be because I'm sure, just crazily over gauge. It grew enormously when blocked, and the whole thing is just like, I don't know, like the colors are not very nice together either, because I wasn't very like particular about choosing my color combos. So all that to say, I honestly could go on and on about this sweater, but basically the point is no one wears it. So my boyfriend very graciously took it on a trip with him to France and wore it for me, and took some photos in it. I very much appreciate it, but realistically there's a lot of really nice yarn in this sweater that's not being put to good use. So my plan is to frog it. As you can see, I've already started that. I've started winding this up into just new balls of yarn that I can use for another project, because I really want to make the soft loop sweater by Other Loops, and I think that this yarn would be perfect for that. I think that I want to use the lighter brown, like this color here. I think I want to use that for my soft loop sweater. And if I don't have enough of just that brown for the sweater, which I think I do, but if I don't have enough of that brown, then I might combine the brown with like the pink that's in here to make that sweater and just do like a 2-color version. I don't know. But first things first, I have to frog this, and I've been procrastinating it a little bit because it took me forever to frog this one sleeve that I did. Because of the colorwork nature of this sweater, you like alternate colors a lot, like within a row. So frogging it is just a pain because you have to like rip both at the same time, and they get all tangled as you're frogging them, and it's just a disaster. And also the type of fiber that this is, I think it's like, I know it's like Portuguese wool of some kind. I just forget what exactly it is, but the fibers like really want to stick together, kind of like frogging mohair. So this is just like, I don't know, this sweater just continues to be a bane in my existence, and I'm just ready to frog it and be done and turn it into something that I want to wear. So I wanted to put that in this video so that I rewatch this video and I'm like, yes, you need to finish frogging that sweater. So that's kind of just like an upcoming plan that I have that I wanted to talk about. But okay, now let's get into some whips that I have in the works right now. So let's start off with my Winona pullover heavyweight edition. So I'm starting with this one because I will otherwise forget about it. I don't know what it is about this project, but I just cannot get myself to get motivated to work on it for some reason. I have wanted to make a Winona pullover for a really long time. It's been on my project list for a really long time, and I decided that it would be the perfect pattern to stash bust a bunch of this like Lion brand. Oh my gosh, this yarn is so tangled. I have a bunch of this Lion brand 24/7 cotton yarn, and I thought that this pattern would be a perfect way to stash bust a lot of that, because this pattern calls for worsted weight yarn, which that yarn is. And I'm right about that. It is a great pattern for that, and it's a great pattern. I don't know. You know how sometimes you're just like really excited to make something, and then for whatever reason you just can't get yourself to work on it? I really don't know what it is, but I'm having that with this shirt. And I know that like with the color combo that I've come up with, if you can see like what the vision is here, like I'm really gonna like this. I know I like the fabric that this yarn makes, especially once it's blocked, it becomes really soft. And yeah, the pattern's well written. I don't know what it is. It has not grabbed me yet. This is one that I've been sticking in my bag for like commuting and stuff. And I've had a lot of time to work on it, but I find myself just like picking it up, doing a few rows, and then, I don't know, just like dropping it and going on my phone, honestly. I think I just need to get through the top. As you can see, I just started picking up the left shoulder, so I'm truly in the very beginning stages of this pattern. And I have a feeling that once I just get through the top yoke, then we'll be good. But yeah, for now I just like cannot get myself to work on it, and I'm not sure why. Like I said, like I've been obsessed with this pattern for a while. Like every time I see people post new Winona pullovers that they've made, I'm like, yeah, I need to finish mine. But I don't know, it just hasn't grabbed me yet. So that's kind of been sitting over in like a whip dungeon right now, and I'm hoping that this week I at least get a few rows done on it. But no promises. The next whip that I have is going to be a gift for my sister-in-law this Christmas, and I'm actually really excited about it. So I asked all my family members like what they actually want for Christmas, because I really don't want to give people stuff that they aren't going to use or don't want. And she said that she likes wearing infinity scarves. So I tried a few things. I like whipped up some things on my Centro, which I believe I talked about also in my gift knits video, but I just wasn't really sold on any of the things that I came up with. So I decided to just do a really long scarf using some yarn that I know that I like. This is, I actually don't even have the ball anymore. I'm working from an old project that I'm frogging as I go. But this is Caron's Simply Soft in their off-white color. I don't actually remember what the shade is called. But yeah, I love Caron's Simply Soft. As far as acrylics go, it is like really nice and it's just super soft and comfortable. So I love making it for gift knits because I know that it's a very low maintenance yarn, like in terms of washing and stuff like that. You're not giving the person something that they have to be like really careful and taking care of, and it feels good on the skin. So I don't know why I keep putting this on my head. I was remembering as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for her infinity scarf that I think maybe 2 years ago, I made a scarf for my boyfriend using the blanket stitch, which is just a series of single crochets and double crochets. And it creates this really nice textured fabric that like makes these bubbles. And it also works up really quickly because you're doing double crochet. And the result is just like a really nice, sturdy, thick fabric, which is perfect for a scarf. So I don't know. I knew I loved this yarn. I knew I had a lot of it. So I just decided to do a scarf just doing blanket stitch. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like 8 blanket stitches wide, and I'm just kind of going until I run out of this yarn, and then I will just seam it up together, and then she'll have an infinity scarf. It's honestly actually technically long enough right now, and I think especially once I seam block it, it will be, but I have just a little bit left, so I decided I would just finish it out and make it so that's a little bit oversized for her, because I think that she'd like that a bit more. Yeah, I'm really excited about this one because this blanket stitch is another one of those things where it's really simple to do, but the result is just something that I think is a bit more visually interesting than if I had just gone with my original plan of doing a stockinette tube infinity scarf. So I think that she's really gonna like this, and I'm really excited to give it to her. Okay. I have 2 more whips for you guys, and both of them have harrowing tails attached. Okay, I actually need to finish a row of this scarf before I can talk about it because I put it down when I was halfway through a row, so I won't be able to show it to you really. So let me just finish this really quick. But actually, I'll tell you the story of what happened with this that was so awful while I'm knitting. So I have a dog, Hobbs. We love Hobbs. Hobbs is an angel. But lately she's been really into like, I don't know, being destructive when my boyfriend and I leave the room. We don't really know what's going on with that. I have never had a problem with Hobbs and like my knitting stuff in the past. She is often with me when I'm knitting, and she never really shows any interest in any of my stuff. If any of our pets do, my cat shows a ton of interest in yarn and things like that, but Hobbs never really has seemed to care. The other day I was dealing with a huge blocking saga that is going to be talked about in my next whip, so you'll hear all about that. But I was dealing with that whole debacle, and while I was blocking that sweater, I set down this whip on the couch, and I went upstairs and I like ran the water in the tub to block the sweater, and I put it in. And so that couldn't have taken more than like, I don't know, 5 minutes. And I came back downstairs and Hobbs had chewed up the knitting needles that were holding this scarf together. And trust me, if like I thought that that was a risk, I wouldn't have just left them out. Now I know. But anyway, so the knitting needles got chewed, and they were my Chiagu interchangeable bamboo needles. And that was the only pair of that size that I had. So I went to a local craft store and I tried to purchase new ones the other day, but they didn't carry Chiagu interchangeable needles. And by the way, not for nothing, that is now the second pair of knitting needles from that set that have been broken. And I know that there's like not much that can be done when a dog decides to chew on a pair of knitting needles, like obviously they're gonna break. But I've had another pair break from like much less. So I think what I'm learning is that it's definitely worth investing in a metal needle set if you're going to get interchangeable needles, because I didn't want to splurge. And now in hindsight, I really wish I had, because when you have metal needles, they aren't going to break like the bamboo ones will. And also, I personally just prefer metal needles. So lesson learned, when I rebuy the needles that have been breaking so far, I've been buying them in metal, so I'll do that with this size. But this actually isn't the size that broke. The size that broke, I forget what the US size was, but it was 3.25 millimeter needles. And I realized that I had 3 millimeter needles laying around, not in my interchangeable set, but just from another project. I decided that since I wanted to keep going with the momentum that I had on this project, and I didn't want to wait until I could go to a store that did sell Chiagu interchangeable needles. By the way, I never know how to say it. Is it Chiagu? I don't know. But because I just wanted to keep going with the momentum that I had on the project, I decided that I would just put this scarf on the 3 millimeter needles and just hope that all the tension issues worked out in blocking. In the process of getting this scarf off of the chewed up needles, I dropped so many stitches. And this pattern, you increase every other row, and you increase a lot. You increase by 4 stitches every row. So when I was dropping stitches, obviously those make ones were disappearing left and right. Long story short is I basically ended up having to frog back to almost the start of the scarf. When I was nearly halfway done, I put in a lifeline here that you may be able to see. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but I just put in a lifeline and then I threaded my needles through those stitches, and then I just kept going. So far, it actually doesn't even look that different from the start of the scarf, which is nice. But now I can actually show you. So this pattern, can't remember if I already said this, but this is the Charles scarf by Joanna Gersich, and I've been wanting to make this pattern for so long, and I'm just so excited about this. This is another gift knit project, and I am using yarn for this that is from my stash that actually I got secondhand from my mom. My mom used to be really into knitting, and so she has a bunch of really nice yarn. She didn't keep the labels or anything, so I have a bunch of yarn from her where I don't really know the fiber content, and it's in like a lot of varying quantities. This is like a huge cake of this gorgeous fingering weight yarn. My best guess, just from working with it and like from the very limited knowledge that I have of fibers, I would guess that this is like merino. It feels really nice. It's very soft. It's possible that she got it as like a sock yarn, so there could be some nylon in here, but I'm just not sure, and it doesn't really feel like it. But whatever it is, it's made just the perfect lightweight fabric for this scarf, and I'm really loving how the colors are changing throughout the scarf as well. It's got a lot of nice purples and blues. I don't often work with variegated yarns, and now I'm starting to realize why everyone likes working with them so much. This has been so fun, mostly just because I like seeing what colors are coming next. And this pattern is also really satisfying to work on because it's in sections of garter stitch and then sections of stockinette. And the sections are 6 rows each. So they're like really small chunks. They're really easy to sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna get through the garter stitch section, or okay, I'm gonna sit down and get through the stockinette. So it's really manageable in that sense, and it's made this just a super addicting knit. And I'm really excited to see how it turns out. I definitely could see myself finishing this one, and if it doesn't end up taking me too long, I might make one for myself. And then also, as some of you know, I'm moving, so I'm trying to de-stash a lot of my yarn, and there's been a lot of like winter clothes drives that I've been seeing in New York. So I've been thinking that I would make a bunch of really easy to make projects out of some of the yarn that I don't want to move with, so that I can donate some items to those causes while also busting through my stash. So this is a pattern that I could definitely see myself whipping up for one of those purposes. Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. It's always fun when you are working on a pattern that you've had your eye on for a while and it's turning out exactly as you want it to. Oh my gosh, this last one. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably know about this saga. So while I was talking about the Charles scarf, I told y'all that I was like in a blocking conundrum with a sweater. This is that sweater. So this is the Norfolk sweater by High Risk Makes. I am like so in love with the fabric of this sweater. It's so soft. This is my first time making a sweater out of alpaca, and oh my gosh, like I don't have this kind of money, but I would love to say that I'm never working with any other fiber again. This is so soft and I cannot wait to wear this. I've been really excited to knit this up. The green is actually a merino wool, but I haven't noticed anything funky with combining the two so far. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Addie, this looks amazing. Whatever could be the problem? Well, the problem, my dear friend, is that this is just simply too small. I have knit this completely under gauge. I did a few try-ons, so it's not like I just was going into this blindly. Tried this sweater on before I started the sleeves, and I was like, okay, like this looks like it's fitting really well. I was liking the way that it was fitting around the body. I knew from the photos of the pattern and the measurements in the pattern that it was already going to be like a more closely fitting sweater than I was used to. So from trying on just the yoke without the sleeves, I didn't have too many red flags, but I was like, okay, cool. This is like a fitted sweater, like a sweater that fits my body. It's not really a negative ease situation. Like, here we go, getting out of our comfort zone. But I knew that that was like what this design was. But man, oh man, I started doing the sleeves, and that is when it became clear that I was just not hitting gauge for this sweater. I think a few things happened. But first of all, I knit a gauge swatch for this pattern, and I knit it flat, and I have since learned that I need to start swatching in the round for sweaters made in the round. I thought that that was just kind of one of those, like, if you're really trying to be a fancy knitter, you should swatch in the round kind of things. But after talking to all of you about what happened with this sweater on Instagram, multiple people said, like, no, it's no joke, like, swatch in the round. It makes a huge difference in your tension. And I think I definitely learned that from this. So I think that my swatch probably just off the bat was not accurate. Normally, because I'm such a loose knitter, or because I have been in the past, whatever needle size a pattern says I need for a project, I normally just kind of default to sizing down a whole millimeter needle size. And I do make gauge swatches, and normally I find that that is more or less what I need to hit gauge on a pattern. So when I gauge swatched for this, on top of doing it flat, I also did that. I believe that this pattern calls for 5mm needles, and I knit this up in 4mm needles. Basically, what happened was I was working on the sleeves of this sweater, and the sleeves are set in, so you already have made a pretty big dent on the progress of your sleeve by the time you separate for them. And by the way, this is the second sleeve that I made. The first one I finished entirely and actually added a lot extra to, but I've already frogged it. But basically, I finished the first sleeve, and I was like, this looks really short. And I tried it on, and I'll insert photos, and the sleeve was ending like here. And I was supposed to add ribbing, which would add 2 inches, but even then it was only gonna be like here. I have long arms, so part of it was probably that. I often find myself adding a little bit of length to sleeves more so than patterns call for anyway, because I also like hate short sleeves. Like I really like long sleeve things. That's just like a preference that I have on top of having long arms. So you might be thinking, well, then that's all it is you just needed to add some length. But dear reader, I tried it on and I was just like, this is not right. Like everything is too small. The sleeve wasn't like too tight on me, but it was just fitting in a way where I was like, I'm never gonna wear this. Like it was like fully fitted to my arm, like all the way down. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm just like never gonna wear a thick sweater where that's the case. So I basically ran to my Instagram story. I was like, help, like what do I do? I really wanted to block it, and I was like pretty convinced at this point that I needed to just frog the whole thing and start over on bigger needles. Oh, because that's the other thing. I measured my gauge, and I don't remember exactly, but it was something like my stitches were smaller by, I think like literally 6 rows or something crazy, like 4 or 6 rows. So I was never ever gonna come close to meeting gauge for this pattern at the rate that I was going. So I was pretty convinced that I wanted to just frog it and start over on bigger needles. But I went to my Instagram story, and a lot of you were like, try blocking it first. I had never blocked a project fully mid-project, and a lot of people were like, I do it all the time, just try it. And I should have just like fully blocked it from the jump, but I got scared, and so I steam blocked it for a while, and then that was kind of helping, but it wasn't making much of a difference. And then I fully blocked it, and then that was kind of helping, but long story short, like, yes, the alpaca really grew from blocking, but even still, it was just like never going to be a size that I wanted. So thank you guys so much for all your help on Instagram that day. Y'all were like really there for me. But the reality is, like, I really do love this sweater and I love this pattern. And if I want to get any use of this winter, then I just need to start over, because if I just like finish it in this way, I'm never gonna wear it. I decided to switch gears, and now I'm knitting it on, I'm knitting it on 5mm needles. By the way, it's just like not been my week for so many reasons, but I wanted to obviously use my interchangeable needle set for this, and I lost one of my US 8 5mm needles from that set. So my interchangeable set is just cursed, but luckily I had another pair lying around. So I'm now knitting this on the size needles that the pattern calls for. And I've only just started it. This is what I've got going on so far. Just from measuring it, I think that we're definitely on the right track here. I haven't started doing any color work. I'm a little sad because I really liked the way that the color work looked on this, like, because the stitches were so small, it was just looking very neat and tidy, and I'm a little worried about all the extra space kind of taking that away from this sweater, but I think that this is the way to go. I did consider staying in this needle size and sizing up the pattern, like just knitting one size up in the pattern, but the size differences in this pattern are pretty drastic. Like the finished garment bust sizes, actually I can look, let's see. It's a difference of 3 inches in the bust, and that's already accounting for 4 inches of positive ease. And I knew it would be under that because I was so under gauge, but I don't know, I just got nervous. I just would rather like follow the rules and like hit the gauge. I'm just like not that bold of a knitter, I guess. I also just got nervous because like I over purchased the green yarn for this pattern for sure. And like definitely as I've been knitting it, I'm like, oh my God, I got way more of the green than I needed. But I bought just enough of the white because it was a splurge. So I'm a little nervous that if I sized up the pattern, even with the smaller gauge, I would still end up playing yarn chicken, and I'm just not trying to do that. So I went for the bigger needle size and just sticking with my true size according to the pattern. So we'll see where that gets me. I'm not mad that I have to start over because, like I was saying, I really am excited about this pattern. I have really like exciting plans for doing some contrasting sleeve cuffs and collar colors. So I know I'm gonna love it when it's all done. I'm just like bummed. I don't know. It's the first like knitting headache that I've had in a minute. I haven't had a pattern that has like truly made me want to pull my hair out like this in a while. And it's not the pattern's fault, by the way. Like this is all user error. Actually, if I may, I have to say, I really recommend this pattern just from my experience so far. I haven't done color work in like over a year, and I forgot how much I loved it. This is such a simple color work pattern, but the finished result is so pretty. The charts are like repeated a lot, and the designs are just really easy to memorize. Like once you get going and you kind of know what you're trying to make, honestly, half the time I don't look at the chart and like I'm fine. So I do really recommend this pattern, and I like the way it's written a lot. I think it's very clear and straightforward. The charts are really well done. So I have nothing negative to say about the pattern itself. It's just like, I don't know why I cannot get it together with this thing. Yeah, I have decided to kind of set it aside for a few days because, oh my God, and now I'm dropping stitches on it. Girl. I decided to set this aside for a few days for my mental health. It was just really getting to a stressful point. And then when I restarted the back, like this is the back piece that I'm starting on, I like had to redo it twice because I just like wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I increased incorrectly. So I don't know, this is just one of those projects for me that's just kind of like cursed for some reason, but I'm determined to make it work. I was originally hoping to have it done by the 24th because my boyfriend and I are having some photos taken on that day, and I was hoping to be able to wear it. That's not happening. And then I was thinking like maybe Thanksgiving because I thought 4 extra days would make a difference, but I've scrapped that whole plan. Now my goal, like with most of my winter makes for myself this year, is just to have it done by the time I go to Canada in January. Taking it easy, focusing on my gift knits for now because like I was saying, like they're really simple and straightforward and they're making me so happy right now. So I'm just gonna focus on those. That's all I have for y'all today. I know we kind of flew through a lot of that stuff, so thanks for bearing with me. I love making these little podcast check-in videos and I'm playing around with the format of how I do them. So today I kind of just like literally wanted to sit in front of you and be like, boom, 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 here's what I'm making, here's where I'm at with it. And so I hope you enjoyed watching. If you guys aren't already, please be sure to subscribe. I do podcast episodes like this, but I also do a lot of project vlogs and I post about all things crafting. So I don't just do knit and crochet, I also sew, and I'm trying to get into spinning. So I keep thinking if I mention that in my outros enough, then maybe I'll start actually spinning more. So be sure to subscribe if you're into that kind of thing. And if you're more of an Instagram person, please be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm @_the_drop_stitch over there. That's where you can kind of see me do a more current update on my whips because I'm always kind of like spamming my story with what I'm working on that day. And yeah, always a pleasure to sit and chat with you guys. Until I catch you in the next one, please be sure to drink some water, stretch your wrists, and please purl responsibly. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!